Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a world where AI is rapidly moving beyond just simple input-output. We're now seeing systems that actively reason, plan, and execute tasks all on their own. This isn't merely about, faster software. It feels like a fundamental shift in how we approach intelligent automation. Our focus today is agentic AI, and specifically the absolutely critical need for enterprises to deploy it responsibly and, well, effectively. This deep dive is going to unpack a powerful framework designed to achieve that exact balance, making sure cutting edge AI capabilities meet the real world demands of governance, security, and ethical accountability. Our mission really is to cut through the hype and give you a structured, actionable path. We want you to understand why trust, robust governance, and clear transparency are absolutely non negotiable before you even think about true AI autonomy. Our primary guide for this discussion is the insightful InfoQ article titled Agentic AI Architecture Framework for Enterprises, written by Subhash Natarajan and Ahilan Panusamy, published just recently, July 11, 2025. It really grounds our conversation in a practical, enterprise-focused perspective. So, diving right in, what exactly is agentic AI? Why is it such a potential game changer for organizations? From what I understand, it's this fascinating evolution, right? Moving from a reactive input-output model to systems that can genuinely, well, think, plan, and then execute actions autonomously. It sounds like it's fundamentally transforming how we approach intelligent automation. Is that fair?
That's exactly right. And what's really fascinating here, I think, is that the really successful organizations aren't just scrambling to adopt the latest, flashiest models. Instead, they're prioritizing simple, composable architectures. They seem to have grasped a core principle. Start with the simplest thing that actually works. You only add complexity when there's clear business value that justifies the additional operational overhead and risk. This approach cleverly sidesteps that inherent tension, between wanting all this AI autonomy and needing to satisfy really strict organizational governance requirements. Plus, it anticipates emerging regulatory frameworks like the EU AI Act. It's quite forward-thinking.
Okay, that makes sense. So if we want to build this responsible AI future, the article lays out this three-tier architecture, almost like a roadmap. What are these tiers, and how do they help us not just deploy the AI, but genuinely earn the trust of stakeholders step by careful step?
Right, so these tiers represent a systematic maturity progression. You've got the foundation tier, then the workflow tier, and finally the autonomous tier. And the absolutely critical takeaway here, it's worth repeating, is that trust, robust governance, and clear transparency must come first. They have to precede autonomy in this journey. You build capability and, crucially, confidence incrementally.
Okay, foundation first. So let's start right there. What's the bedrock? What's the essential infrastructure needed for enterprise agentic AI? What does that foundation tier actually look like in practice?
Well, this first tier is really all about establishing stringent operational controls and the governance framework that's absolutely required for production systems. We're talking about places where auditability, security, and ethical compliance are just non-negotiable. It's about building a robust, controlled environment right from the ground up, ensuring your AI systems are trustworthy from day one, basically. And it's built on three core pillars. First, we have tool orchestration with enterprise security. Think of this as building a kind of fortified digital drawbridge for your AI. The core idea is that instead of letting AI run wild with broad system access, you're creating secure gateways between your AI systems and your existing enterprise applications and infrastructure.
Okay, secure gateways, like what specifically?
Exactly. This means using things like role-based permissions, sophisticated API gateways with strong authentication and threat detection, and crucially, putting circuit breakers in place, those automated safety switches that prevent a problem in one AI component from, spiraling into a total system failure.
Right, preventing cascade failures. That seems vital.
Absolutely. And remember, tracking your AI's API costs, token usage, and security events right from the start is paramount. You have to avoid those budget black holes or, worse, novel attack vectors.
Makes sense. So that's security and control. What's next?
Moving on, the next critical element is reasoning transparency with continuous evaluation. This pillar directly addresses accountability. AI decision-making gets structured into auditable processes, and this includes integrated bias detection, hallucination monitoring, and confidence scoring.
So you can actually see why the AI made a certain decision.
Precisely. There's automated quality assessment, constantly tracking reasoning consistency. It captures not just the decision rationale itself, but also alternative approaches the AI considered. It even tracks potential demographic impact indicators.
Wow, okay.
And in enterprise environments, this explainability, it consistently outweighs raw performance in determining deployment success. It really does. Systems that clearly show their reasoning just earn broader organizational adoption and stakeholder trust. It's that simple.
Trust through transparency. Got it.
Right.
And the third pillar.
And rounding out this foundation tier, we have data lifecycle governance with ethical safeguards. This involves implementing systematic information protection. Think classification schemes, encryption protocols, purpose limitation, and automated consent management. Public information remains accessible, sure, but sensitive data like PII, personally identifiable information, or PHI, protected health information, gets differential privacy protection, or maybe pseudonymization.
So you're protecting the sensitive stuff while still allowing function?
Exactly. And automated retention enforcement, for example, handling right-to-deletion requests automatically is absolutely critical. Manual processes just can't scale with enterprise AI deployments. The goal is functionality while maintaining strict regulatory compliance. You need both.
That really paints a clear picture for the bedrock. Okay, so once we've got that solid, secure foundation, that initial trust is in place, where do we go next? Is it a sudden leap into full autonomy, or is there a more measured step towards real business impact?
Oh, definitely a measured step. That's precisely where the workflow tier comes in. Here, orchestration patterns start managing multiple AI interactions across more flexible execution paths. But critically, they do this while preserving the determinism and oversight needed for complex business operations. This is where you start seeing significant business transformation beginning to happen.
Okay, so managing multiple interactions, how does that work?
Well, a key concept here is constrained autonomy zones with change management. These are essentially secure operational boundaries where AI systems can operate independently, but, and this is key, always leveraging all those controls you established back in the foundation tier. You integrate mandatory checkpoints for validation, compliance checks, human oversight where needed, and automated escalation procedures if something goes wrong.
So controlled independence.
Exactly. The fundamental insight here is gradual autonomy expansion. You phase it in carefully based on measured outcomes and demonstrated user confidence. You're actually tracking adoption rates right alongside the technical performance metrics.
That makes a lot of sense. What else is in this workflow tier?
Then there's workflow orchestration with comprehensive monitoring. This really forms the operational core of this tier. This capability decomposes complex business processes into coordinated components. It provides real-time quality assessment, ensuring proper sequencing, robust error handling, and continuous bias detection throughout the entire workflow.
So it's managing the flow and watching it closely?
Precisely. And the article highlights 5 essential orchestration patterns within this workflow tier. Should we touch on those briefly?
Yeah, definitely. What are they?
Okay, first, prompt chaining. Think of this as extending that reasoning transparency across multi-step tasks with clear validation gates and continuous monitoring at each stage.
Right, tracking the logic through multiple steps.
Next, routing. This classifies inputs using confidence thresholds and fairness criteria, directing them to specialized agents while tracking any disparities in how different types of inputs are handled.
Sending the right job to the right AI agent. Fairly. Okay.
Then we have parallelization. This lets you process independent subtasks simultaneously, but it requires sophisticated result aggregation, conflict resolution, bias detection, and load balancing all built in.
Handling multiple things at once, smartly.
The evaluator optimizer is like the AI's internal quality control loop, and maybe it's cost accountant. It creates self-correction cycles. It has convergence detection, cost controls, and quality improvement tracking to prevent those endless, costly iterations.
Self-correction, that's interesting. And the last one.
And finally, orchestrator workers. These enable dynamic planning. They use smart load balancing, handle failures gracefully, and can adaptively replan based on intermediate results. Keeps complex processes moving forward efficiently.
Okay, that workflow tier sounds powerful but still quite controlled. Now the next step, the autonomous tier. This sounds like the holy grail of AI, doesn't it? How do we actually get to that kind of true dynamic intelligence safely and responsibly?
It does sound like that, yeah. And indeed, this autonomous tier represents the most advanced implementations. This is where agentic AI systems can genuinely determine their own execution strategies based on high-level objectives. However, and this is a big autonomy, this level of autonomy is only feasible, only responsible, through the sophisticated monitoring, the safety constraints, and the ethical boundaries that you've meticulously established and proven in the previous tiers.
So you can't just jump here.
Absolutely not. It's the culmination of that progressive maturity we talked about. In this tier, we look at three advanced capabilities. First, goal-directed planning with ethical boundaries. Here, systems receive strategic objectives, high-level goals, and they operate within predefined ethical constraints, safety boundaries, cost budgets, and performance targets. The planning process itself has to incorporate things like uncertainty quantification, developing alternative strategies, and even comprehensive stakeholder impact assessment.
Planning with guardrails, essentially.
Exactly. Next is adaptive learning with bias prevention. This refers to self-improvement capabilities based on real-time environmental feedback. Feedback like tool execution results, user satisfaction scores, fairness indicators. Critically, these learning mechanisms explicitly include active bias correction features. The system learns and improves, but ethically.
Learning, but not learning bad habits.
That's the goal. And finally, we have multi-agent collaboration with conflict resolution. This is where you might have multiple specialized agents coordinating. They use structured communication protocols, enhanced with sophisticated conflict resolution techniques, consensus mechanisms, maybe even ethical arbitration if disagreements arise. It ensures they maintain shared context and synchronized ethical standards across the whole system.
Wow, multiple AIs working together ethically.
Yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, these autonomous tiers operate most effectively in highly controlled environments. You need strict resource limits, comprehensive safety monitoring, and often explicit regulatory approval. They demand robust exception handling and clear escalation procedures that, frankly, only a truly mature foundational infrastructure built through those first two tiers can actually support.
Okay, this framework makes logical sense. Foundation, workflow, autonomous. Now, this is where the rubber really meets the road, I think. How does this three-tier progression actually look when it's applied in different industries, say financial services versus healthcare or manufacturing? Because it can't be one size fits all, right? Why does this matter to you, the listener, depending on your specific field?
You're absolutely right. It's definitely not one size fits all. This progression adapts significantly based on unique regulatory environments, different risk tolerances, specific customer expectations, and just distinct operational requirements across industries.
Okay, give us some examples. How about finance?
Let's take financial services, arguably one of the most challenging environments, regulation-wise. There's a heavy emphasis on the foundation tier. Think strict governance, rigorous bias testing, mandatory human checkpoints for high-stakes tasks like loan underwriting or algorithmic trading. Transparency is paramount. As a result, autonomous patterns. They remain largely experimental here. The regulatory constraints demand extremely high transparency and control, which makes full autonomy very difficult right now.
Right, the regulation dictates the pace. What about healthcare? High stakes there too.
Perhaps the highest stakes, yeah, because of patient safety and health equity concerns. For healthcare, the foundation tier absolutely prioritizes data lifecycle governance for PHI-protected health information. That means things like FHIR compliance, those interoperability standards essential for health data exchange, plus stringent access controls for electronic health records and medical devices, and of course, robust reasoning transparency, especially for things like AI-assisted diagnosis. You need to know why the AI suggested something.
And the autonomous tier in healthcare.
Highly restricted. Understandably so. The focus is overwhelmingly on the foundation and carefully controlled workflow patterns.
Okay. How about a different field, like retail?
In retail, it's often about balancing personalization at scale with customer fairness. Their foundation tier focuses heavily on PII protection and bias detection in recommendations or pricing. The workflow tier is vital for things like customer service routing, streamlining order processing, personalized content delivery, optimizing the customer journey. Autonomous patterns, maybe something like dynamic pricing, only become viable within controlled contexts here, and only because that foundation-level fairness monitoring is already meticulously in place and proven.
So fairness enables more advanced uses later. Make sense? One more manufacturing.
Yeah, manufacturing. Here, it's all about managing AI capabilities alongside physical safety and workforce impact. Very different constraints. The foundation tier focuses intensely on OT/IT security integration, that's operational technology, the factory floor stuff, and information technology, plus threat detection for industrial systems and continuous workforce and safety monitoring. The workflow tier supports core functions like production automation, using computer vision for quality control, predictive maintenance on machinery. Autonomous patterns can become feasible perhaps in logistics or resource allocation, but always within strict safety boundaries and with constant human oversight protocols. Safety is paramount.
That really highlights how the context shapes the application. Okay, so wrapping this framework together, what does all of this mean for an organization that's actually looking to implement agentic AI? How do they move safely and effectively through each of these capability tiers? What's the strategic roadmap look like?
Yeah, the successful deployment really hinges on combining that technical excellence we've talked about with deep ethical responsibility and, crucially, truly strong change management. It's not just tech. The article outlines four pretty clear phases for this journey.
Okay, phase one.
First, you establish foundation tier patterns. This means really implementing tool orchestration, reasoning transparency, and data lifecycle governance. Get that bedrock solid. Crucially, this phase must include robust threat modeling from the start, thorough bias testing, and clearly defined human-AI collaboration rules.
Build the foundation, build the trust.
Got it. Phase two.
Second, you demonstrate foundation tier value. Don't just build it, prove it. Execute controlled pilots, probably non-critical business areas first. The goal here is to prove you meet security compliance, show clear cost visibility, and demonstrate those trust-building aspects we discussed. Train your teams, measure adoption rates alongside the technical performance, and only then should you really consider scaling up. Prove the value first.
Pilot, prove, then proceed. Okay, phase three. Third, you expand workflow tier patterns. Now you start deploying those constrained autonomy zones and implementing those 5 core orchestration patterns we explored earlier. But you only advance to this stage when the value and stability of your foundation tier is fully proven, and you commit to maintaining comprehensive monitoring throughout.
Build on proven success. And the final phase.
And fourth, you can cautiously explore autonomous tier capabilities. This means carefully testing goal-directed planning, adaptive learning, and multi-agent collaboration. But this is done in strictly controlled environments, sandboxes maybe, ideally with any necessary regulatory input or approval. This phase always requires comprehensive safety monitoring and, frankly, a clear backup plan if things don't go as expected. It's exploration, not a full rollout initially.
It truly feels like the enterprise agentic AI landscape is at a critical inflection point, doesn't it? There's so much potential, but also so much to consider.
Absolutely. It really is. And the core message from this deep dive, drawing from the article, couldn't be clearer, I think. Organizations that rigorously prioritize their governance foundations, that build trust first, they consistently outperform those that try to chase the shiny autonomous capabilities first. It seems counterintuitive, maybe, but it works. The real, sustainable competitive advantage belongs to organizations that master governance-enabled autonomy, not just ungoverned automation.
Governance-enabled autonomy. That's a great phrase.
It is. And, this raises a really important question for all of us listening, thinking about the future. If agentic AI can operate with such transparent reasoning and robust ethical guardrails, as this framework suggests is possible, what new kinds of complex problems we couldn't tackle before, can we finally empower these systems to help us solve? And what might that mean for the evolution of human work, human creativity itself? Something to think about.